Technologies. This session is moderated by Dr. Dirk Richter, the Senior Advisor with the Abu Dhabi Department of Health and Associate Professor of Surgery. The participating delegates are starting with Dr. Taleeb Al Tel, one of TIP 2018 success story, Mr. Sam Kamal Eddine, one of TIP 2018 winner and General Manager of WAINSK and Smart Hospitals, the United Arab Emirates. Last but not least, Dr. Ahmed Hassan, the TIP 2019 Innovator. Please welcome your panel.
Good afternoon. Last not least, we would like to talk a little bit about health tech, but more about beyond healthcare and health tech. It's a very diverse panel. So the first thing we'll do, give each of you a short introduction so that you can tell the audience what you're doing in your daily life.
Thank you very much, Derek, for including me on this panel session. So I'm Taleeb Al Tel from the University of Sharjah. I'm a professor of drug design and discovery, and currently I am the director of the Research Institute for Medical and Health Sciences in the University of Sharjah. Before, I came from a background where I used to work for more than 7 years in the Research Triangle Park in North Carolina in a drug discovery companies for cancer, diabetes, and Alzheimer's.
Thank you.
Hi, so I think we have only family and friends left. You guys are the dedicated ones. My journey started outside the medical field, so this topic is actually very relevant to me. So we had a solution in the military side of things on location technology, and we then, through a few things worked out, we could actually use it in hospitals. So we've introduced location technology into the patient flow of a hospital, and we launched last year under the TIP program, and we're almost at the end of our first paid pilot with one of the large hospital groups.
Hello, thank you, Dirk, for inviting, and thank you everyone for being present late. My name is Ahmed Hassan. We founded a company called Liferayes. My background is actually in engineering, but I'm applying the technology in health tech, so it's a bit of a challenge. What we do is we treat people who have vitamin D deficiency through natural sunlight. The mechanism is we bring sunlight to people at their workplace or at home so that they can expose to the right amount of sunlight, which otherwise either they cannot expose outdoor, or else the sunlight is risky because it has more UV. So that's what we do, and we hope that we will create an impact in health tech for future.
I would like to start with Sam with a quick question. Talking to investors, looking around, healthcare is always a little bit different from very many other industries, highly regulated, a lot of obstacles, of course, risk management, which is sometimes contradiction to innovation, has to be very high, since of course finally, first of all, we don't want to harm any patient. So why did you choose healthcare to apply your technology, although the market would be open for many other industries as well?
I'd like to say there was a real passion there, but there wasn't. My story starts in basically having had something that worked very well in let's say the military space, could work very well in logistics, and actually could work well in almost any industry. I did it in a bit more of a scientific fashion. I had a look at which market sectors were growing the most aggressively over the next 5 to 10 years in this region. I chose where I wanted to stay. And I basically came up with healthcare and education. And then I think what threw me over into the healthcare field was very much the first introduction of the TIP program, where the healthcare challenge was there. And I started looking, okay, how do we make this work in a hospital? And then watching a lot of TV shows, really, initially that's how it was. And learning about patient flow, finding doctors that I knew in the industry and talking to them. And I think where I was fortunate, and it did turn into a passion after that, was just seeing how much space we had to add value. Not to the medical side of it, but to the administration side of it, which I feel is really lagging behind other industries.
Thank you. I think Dr. Taleeb didn't have much options in healthcare developing drugs. So, but looking at what you told us before we came on stage, I mean, the process of developing drugs is a very complex one. At the same time, looking at healthcare of the future, and future is very close. We're talking about digital drugs, we're talking about different technologies, we're talking about genomics, talking about therapy, which was somehow in oncology at least one-way drugs, chemotherapy, radiation. Now there are many technologies available. What do you think, what's the future, and which are the technologies that will significantly influence therapy within the, let's say, next 10 years?
Thank you very much, Derek. Yeah. So let me just maybe split my answer to your question into two parts. In the first part, let me just paint a picture of what is the challenge and what's the problem and how can we solve this challenge or the global challenge and the problem. And I hope the picture will not be gloomy. In the second, I will try to shed light on what are the disciplines that should really work in a team to come up with effective solutions for new treatments. So let me just tell you a little story, and then you might conclude enough how complicated the world we are living in is, and how complicated the diseases we are all suffering from are. When you say cancer, it's an extremely complex disease. No one understands even what causes cancer, or even we don't even have a clue exactly what is the mechanism behind having cancer. I worry about dementia, for example. People are working on dementia, Alzheimer's, since the year 2000, and you're talking about 20 years back. And until they spent billions and billions of dollars. And until today, there's no treatment. So what I'm trying to really paint in this picture is to tell you that we really need to pull out the crowd of resources by gathering multidisciplines, multi-stakeholders, multi-organizations, multi-areas to try to come up with effective solutions of the challenges we are facing right now. In 2005, I was working in a drug discovery in North Carolina, and I witnessed a very touchy story before my eyes. A lady in her late 40s came up with a piece of paper to the CEO of the company I'm working in. This piece of paper, there is the name of her daughter, 20 years old daughter, died because of a cancer in her brain, and she is handing the paper to the CEO of the company, asking him, since she have the news that the company is working on developing anti-cancer drugs, handing up the paper for the CEO, to asking him to take the brain of my daughter from the hospital. She died while she was 20 years old, to really study why my daughter had a brain cancer. This is how desperate patients are. This is how desperate we are. Even tomorrow for patients, it's very late. We need effective treatment today. This will never happen. Remember, we now have more than 200 medications for anti-cancer. And yet, every day, there are more than 20,000 people on this planet every day dying because of cancer. There are more than 40,000 persons or people on this planet diagnosed with cancer. You can't cure cancer if there will be, only you can do that by having people from the genetic background, from artificial intelligence, from big data management, from pharmacology, from biological sciences, working together in a team with all kinds of support from the government, from the taxpayer, from the academic institution, and more important, from the industry, to come up with effective solutions for these global challenges.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Ahmed, I think you don't require millions and billions of dirhams to launch your product, but please tell us at what stage you are right now, and also what are the challenges? What's your advice for other startups when you come from outside healthcare, you are in life sciences, you have a specific look at things, so what's your experience, where are you now, and what's your recommendation for other people coming from outside life sciences into this business?
Thank you. Going back to your first question, at what stage we are. So we are in the stage of finalizing our first working prototype. So we built it, we tested it in terms of the sunlight that we can bring indoors and we can expose to people. The next stage in technology development is to test it for its impact on health. So we are planning to do it on the artificial skin first to see how it interacts, and then on the animals to see if it generates vitamin D and enough, and that it is safe, it doesn't harm. And then, of course, on real, human. The challenge we faced as it's a true multidisciplinary thing, coming from sunlight, transporting it through materials, which mostly we do with fiber optic, and then exposing it to people which come from different skins and background and even health backgrounds. The challenge is know-how, to know comprehensively about the whole process in terms of dealing with sunlight, and then in terms of dealing with the people in terms of their perception about the sunlight, and then dealing with their health, so that we really cause a positive impact rather than we may go otherwise. To me, the major challenge in this is the knowledge, comprehensive knowledge from different disciplines, and that's not easy. The second challenge is specifically related to how best you can manage your resources within the, within either it can be intellectual resource or human resource or financial resource. And that's where I think most of the startups would face some issues. The solution we came up is that we are trying to parallel process, and there are some lessons we learned out of it. So because it's kind of a deep tech, to prove the technology it's working, it takes years. And if we just keep waiting for the technology to be ready to come in market, then it may be too late and it may be overcome by another one. So by the time we are developing technology, we are reaching out the funding agencies to test it in the first phase. And then we are reaching out with the different forums and networks to get ourselves hired. So this is something which I would advise for startups, specifically who are working in technology development, and if more so in the health, because it involves a lot of struggle. So if you can parallel process your resources, that's how you can speed up and you can reach your intended targets probably shorter than it may take. So that's how I can summarize.
Just a question. I mean, I think I feel it's a big challenge to at the same time you have a strong support from a university. At the same time, you're not there for developing products, but you have a lot of other duties. Is there anything, I mean, as we as the Department of Health, try to build an ecosystem. Very important part of this ecosystem is not only bringing international people to Abu Dhabi, which we have done today and during the last days, but also to help our innovators in the country, in the emirate, to progress. So is there anything you feel that should be done to enable university-based applied research to become product much quicker than today?
Yeah. When it comes to knowledge creation, the universities are doing good enough. There is support available, not huge financial support, but modest, which you can really do the basic things. What probably lacks is, in terms of ecosystem, is within the innovator and access to business networks and business-oriented community. Because we in the universities are more locked in labs and we love to do physical things, but we most often lack the social side of it. So if there is something which can be improved in this case is how best the academics can be networked with the business, because both of them speak different languages. So if they can come up with something where they can speak each other's language and understand well each other's needs and strengths, of course each of them has their own strengths. By sharing these strengths, I think this is how we can reach the targets, because deep tech is very time consuming, and if this way we can bring them together, the needs can be heard and understood very well.
Just to comment on that, with what we did on a location side with the hospitals, without the support of the Department of Health and you guys, to at least get those introductions and put a little bit of weight behind us to meet the right people, I think we'd still probably be out there today trying to get enough credibility, right, as a new company to sort of move into this field. I could get into other areas as a startup with my background, right, but then what am I doing in healthcare? So I think the support from you guys, from a government perspective, and as TIP, with setting up those meetings, really made the difference in getting us to market. And you can't really underestimate the amount of value that you guys add just by setting up a meeting or coming to a meeting with us like you've done many times.
Yeah, can I comment on this? Yes. Maybe our field, the drug design and discovery, is a little bit different, Derek. In a way, it's very costly. It's very costly, and the drug development process, it's very long. In a way, it can cost to bring a drug in the market between $500 million to $1.5 billion US. And this sometimes takes between 5 to 10 years or 5 to 7 years on average. So it's very lengthy process, but it's very rewarding if it's going to be successful. To give you an idea, for example, the anti-cancer drug market nowadays, it's around $200 billion US. So it's a huge money-making machine if a drug will make it into the market. But more important is the health of the mankind. For us, this is what matters. We, at the university, is non-profit organization. So this is one thing. The other thing, if you look at the big pharma, in most cases, the drugs they have in the market, they depend on either the academia by buying the drugs or buying the IPs, or they license the drugs at different stages, or they buy drugs from small biotech pharma. So in my case, we have 3 innovations, 3 patents, 2 of them for anti-cancer, 1 of them for multi-drug resistant bacteria. We actually went farther until we finished the animal studies around these 3 technologies. And the compounds are extremely amazing in terms of novelty, mechanism of action, effectiveness, and affordability and safety. What we need and what we are looking forward to have is really we need the federal government of the United Arab Emirates to share the risk with us. It's going to be rewarding. The United Arab Emirates is leading the Middle East, even Asia, in many different disciplines. And we ask the leadership of this country to share the risk with us, to take these medications into further steps in the hope to have better life-changing medications to the mankind. And it is going to be really a global or a solution or a partial solution of one of the global challenges we are facing right now.
Thank you very much. Dr. Taleeb was so kind to request more support from the federal government, so I can leave in a good mood today. Thank you for listening. Lots of things are going on in the UAE. Even more you will get to know tomorrow. So have a nice evening and see all of you and even those who are already left tomorrow. Thank you. Say something.